Big money people waiting to buy up real estate on the cheap conspiracy theory. Does anyone else see this theory floating around all over Reddit? Essentially, we are told that real estate prices will basically never decline because if there is any significant decline in housing prices, the properties will simply be bought up by big money investors. This will prevent any significant decline in housing prices from ever happening. Does anyone have any actual real evidence that this is true? To me, this seems like a work of fiction, a conspiracy theory. Why do I say this? Well, if this theory were true, then 2008 housing crash would have never happened. Home prices in the US peaked out in 2006, 2007 and then dropped 40-50 from those price levels around 2011. If the theory were true, the big money investors would have bought up all these distressed properties when prices were down 10 from the peak. That never happened. Based on what I'm seeing, this big money theory is just a work of fiction. Something that was invented by people who are fearful of a repeat of 2008. The reality is home prices could significantly decline again if the economic conditions do not support these high price levels. The big money investors will not come rushing in to buy up cheap properties simply because they will also be impacted by economic conditions. Same thing happened in 2008. Big money investors couldn't get financing to buy cheap properties. I'm just posting because I see this theory being pushed around on Reddit almost like it is an absolute truth. I see it as just another economic fallacy that. Curious on what everyone else's thoughts on it are. I had the option to sell my first townhome to a guy with $17 million in his Fidelity account. My agent took proof of funds from all offers submitted, so yeah, he could pay cash and close immediately. I rejected that offer and took an offer $5,000 less from a family with a conventional loan. Because I didn't need Mr. $17 million buying his 30th investment property or his extra $5,000. So yes, there's always going to be insufferably rich people waiting in the wings for a price drop. My neighbor, not even a bad guy, owns 5 houses in this neighborhood. He'd own 50 if he could afford it. A change in the market that causes housing to be a bad investment. Big unemployment would be one such cause. When the crash happens, it will be because the big money investors are cashing out. All we have to do is make treasury bonds more attractive than real estate, and the floodgates will open. There were tons of big money people that could have bought up in 2008, 2011 market bottom. A lot of them didn't. Why? Because it's hard to try to catch a falling knife, and when a property just lost 20 of its value, everyone will expect to lose another 20. It's hard to call the bottom. So, one day there could be some kind of rout in real estate value. But who knows when it will happen? Could be next year, could be 20 years away. Big money doesn't make money by buying assets that lose value. This seems similar to the stock market where institutions put out information that is opposite. For example, they will say you have to get into stock now or it's too late. They do that because they know it's going down, so they need buyers to purchase their assets that are set to decline. It's a game of opposites. If commercial REIT takes a beating, which looks likely, maybe they won't be so keen to jump into buying up property in a falling environment. Just thinking out loud. Key thing you mention here is that 40-50 drop took 4-5 years. Yet people seem to want it now. People with big money are buying bonds and sitting back earning 5, because they realize real estate is more work and expense than it's worth. 10 is just seasonal, different in price. Big money would swoop in when the price dropped 30. It's not over till Fat Lady sang, I mean Fed been back at 0 rates for 1-2 years. That is years away. In my case, in the last cycle I kept saving, then when a major CD matured around 2012 I went and bought my place. Robert Kiyosaki himself said once the RE went down, he took his 600 million RE and oil wells and borrowed 300 mil to buy up as much RE he could at steep discounts. Meanwhile all the flipper geniuses like Casey Serin went years before to his courses and meets and leveraged up till they went bust. He probably was buying foreclosures from the people who were his customers previously. 100 True. Big money knows real estate protects them against inflation. Folks need a place to live, and if they can't buy, they rent. And the very large residential real estate investors will be bailed out if the economy goes to shit. That's what our country has become, too big to fail but not too big to profit. These are parasites, and like all parasites they leave when the host is dead or dying. You have a choice on who you sell to. Please think about what you are perpetuating if you choose an investor over an ordinary individual family. Everything runs cyclical. Sell high. Buy low. Have faith in your instincts and do not deviate. It happens in places that are high on the desirability index. Big money doesn't want to buy in the middle of nowhere new development Las Vegas or Phoenix in a downturn. NYC metro area barely saw a blip in 2008. Primed Manhattan barely sneezed. Same goes for other locales with prime real estate. At the end of the day, if you hold desirable real estate, you'll probably be more than okay than chumps who overpaid for a generic piece of property. Institutional money sells tops and buys bottoms, with few exceptions. Don't know why you call it a conspiracy theory though, it's just how the world works. This is just a half-formed thought, but I think they are trying to cause a crash to buy up as much as possible at the right time. Emo inflation and student loan repayments will cause people to have to start making hard decisions. Whoever has cash when the bottom falls out will be in a pretty good position to capitalize on the opportunity. LOL, why does that make this a conspiracy? It's Prime Day, lots of Amazon items are on sale and getting bought up, preventing the prices from going lower. Is that a conspiracy? My grocery store had a sale on watermelons and it was all gone, so I couldn't wait for prices to go lower. There's a watermelon conspiracy in my area, too. Boy, am I gonna get some hate for this. But you asked, so at least respect my honesty. I'm a real estate investor that is waiting eagerly for the bubble to burst so I can pick up a couple of. Last deal was in 2021 where I picked up a $100,000 house for $35,000. I'm hoping to do that a couple more times. The only way this doesn't happen is if equities get slaughtered at the same time as housing prices. If housing drops 50 and the stock market stays put, guess what rich people will do? It may not be big money investors. It's also everyone that's been sitting on the sidelines waiting for the right price. Your average family will start bidding and outbid if they have the funds. I can't speak for single-family residences, but there is absolutely billions of dollars waiting in the wings to pick up distressed multifamily assets. It's not a conspiracy. It is called dry powder and it's been raised and is sitting with various private equity groups right now. Do you guys understand exactly how widespread the job losses have to be for people holding 3 mortgages to be forced to sell? Do you think you'd be immune to that kind of economic upheaval? The difference this time is while poor people feel rich because they have $50K or $200K cash waiting for a crash, companies have billions of dollars ready to buy properties cash during a crash. There's a lot of money hoarded by investors waiting for a crash. The idea that a crash like 2008 happens exactly the same is just hopeful thinking. Many people have learned their lesson. In '08, Bear Stearns was purposefully allowed to collapse due to a long-standing feud within the rich. Things are different today. I wish there was a crash that made 50 of people homeless too, but it's unlikely. Honey Bear, folks did scoop up properties on the cheap after the '08 crisis. And it wasn't just big money, it was anyone with cash. Keep working on all of those theories and continue to ignore reality or look around with open eyes and see what is actually going on. The choice is yours to make.